Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to a very special episode of the show. We have a very special guest today, guitarist, founding member, songwriter from Lords of Black, Mr. Tony Hernando. What's going on, Tony?
Hey Pete, so nice to be here with you. Thanks for having me. And it's been quite a while since I've been following your channel, growing and growing. And really, congratulations on that because it's a hell of a show. It's beautiful the way you are handling all the reviews and all the stuff. Is very interesting and very entertaining. So congrats for that. Yeah.
Thank you, Tony. I appreciate it. I really appreciate the kind words. And likewise, I've been following Lords of Black, the band, for almost since the beginning. So and I'm very happy that we have you on today because you got a brand new album to talk about. And I'm assuming you're so Tony and I have been chatting on email for a number of years now. But what's really interesting is that we don't get a lot of people on the channel from bands or what have you from Spain. And like, so
Right.
Tony, you're from Madrid, correct?
Yeah, not born in Madrid. I've been living in Madrid for many years, but I'm from Salamanca. There is a beautiful city, well known for the university, much more in the middle north area in Castilla. So yeah.
So you may not know this, but my father's side of the family is from Galicia.
Right,
So
suppose
I'm
that because your surname, your last name, Pardo, it means, wow, this guy might be ancestors from Spain, I thought. So yeah, and it's a very popular surname from Galicia area that's in the north of Spain. It's a beautiful part of the country, beautiful people, beautiful folklore and traditions and food. So you have to come over here
I do.
and
I've never been. My father's side of the family is from Spain. My mother's side of the family is from Sicily, from Italy. So,
right.
and I need to go to both places. I haven't been to either country. I need to do that before I get too old
Yeah.
and I don't want to travel anymore.
You have to come.
I do. I do. So I'm going to make that happen. So, but
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
very happy to have Tony on the show today. And this is the new album. Brand new, Mechanics of Predacity on Frontiers Records. Frontier is a very good label for this style of music, right? Which to me, I classify it's heavy metal, but it's a little power metal, symphonic metal, progressive metal, kind of all rolled into one. And this is your sixth album, right? So you got six
right.
albums here now. Can you talk a little bit about I had to look up Predacity because I've never heard that word before, but it is a real word. So it means going after prey, right? And with the album artwork and everything, does the title of the album is there like much of a theme to the album that pertains to the title, or how'd you come up with the title of the album?
Yeah, well, yes and not. All of our albums seem to be almost conceptual, but none of them are conceptual albums as such. But I always gravitate to get a strong title, a strong topic or theme that might be powerful enough to portray the artwork and the rest of the album. Because I'm still very old school kind of guy for that. I like to see the albums as a whole, as a piece, as an unit. So I'm not a playlist kind of guy that consumes music on streaming. I don't like that. I really go with those classic Iron Maiden or Black Sabbath albums that mean something to me as a whole. And Lords of Black is pretty much on that vibe, very old school. And I don't care if it's not on fashion anymore or whatever. It's okay. So it's
You
again,
and
it's
I are on
not
the same page there, Tony, because I'm the same
absolutely,
way. I'm an album guy. I got to listen to start
yeah.
to finish. That's it. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I really like to enjoy albums with a meaning, with deep lyrics and maybe some gems, some obscure tracks and those hidden gems on the B side, all that kind of stuff. And Lords of Black is kind of carrying on with that legacy. And none of the albums are conceptual, but all of them have a strong theme or kind of cinematic vibe to it. And Mechanics of Predacity again is something like that. Is Predacity, we can say, is the primal instinct of the mankind, and is we are violent by nature. So sometimes I keep wondering myself is the natural state of mankind civilization or barbarism? So it's the eternal struggle and the eternal conflict. And I feel that everything that happens in the world is consequence of that predacity from the beginning to the ends of time. So considering the current times, the very tumultuous and difficult times we are living right now, everything to me seems to be crisis, wars, fake news, all this tension, and is predacity.
Really good artwork on the album too, to kind of go along with everything you just said, right? So
Yeah, also we like to go the extra mile with the artwork as well. So I always work with this guy Felipe Machado from Colombia, and because we don't want to go cheap and go with the new way of doing IA artwork and stuff like that. No, I rather go with a real artist that we talk about the concept and he really paints something unique and personal and human. So I go in a very old school kind of way also with the artwork.
great, great. So, this album comes about 3 years after Alchemy of Souls Part 2, which is kind of like your longest break in between albums. Did you got kind of like a perfect storm here? We had the pandemic, right? Which I'm
Right.
sure slowed up things for everybody. And then your singer, Ronnie Romero, he's a busy guy. He's doing all sorts of stuff, right? Various, with Michael Schenker and Richie Blackmore and um, with Richie Faulkner, right? He's got that new band. So did all of this kind of all these things kind of stall this album coming out at all, or did really just the album came out when it came out and the songs came together when they came together, and how did that all work out?
A bit of both. The album has been composed, written, and recorded for a long time, but nowadays you deliver the masters to the record label, and maybe it goes 6 or 7 or 8 months, like in this case, till the album gets released. This album was finished and in the can, delivered to the label 1st of August last year.
Oh, okay.
So that's one kind of thing that is happening lately. That it takes a long time for the record then to do the right things for the global marketing and the digital platforms and all those politics. I don't know, but also as you mentioned, Ronnie was extremely busy after the pandemic kind of got away and everybody started to play, and Michael Schenker was touring relentlessly. So Ronnie was busy for a year with Michael Schenker and all those projects. And me as a friend and as a fan of Ronnie, at the same time, I encourage him, I support him for doing that because I'm a fan as well and I love him doing what he does with the best musicians in the world. Some of them are my favorite guitarists myself, but also it's a very difficult situation because it's like a blessing and a curse at the same time because everything starts to conflict with our schedule, our plans. So it's kind
Yeah,
of difficult to.
it's like a double-edged sword, right? Because it's like
Absolutely,
this busy
yeah,
schedule hampers a little bit how much you can do, but
right,
yet Ronnie's profile is getting much
right,
larger as every
yeah,
year goes by. So that's only going to help Lords of Black, I would think, in the end.
right.
Right? Yeah. So what's just a kind of a weird question. What's the metal scene like in Spain? Is there any scene over there?
Not that much. A part of Lords of Black singing in English. Of course, there is a local scene singing in Spanish that is pretty popular local wise or popular in Central and South America because of the language. But I thought that Lords of Black was going to open the gates for, for for good, this time for good, for the rest of the world to export the first valuable and viable metal band. Like Italy did that a long time ago. Greece with Firewind, with Gas G, for example, did. Of course, German Germany was the first country beside the United Kingdom that exported bands like Scorpion, Sachet, Halloween, and all those guys, and maybe the Scandinavian countries as well. But I would love to say that Lords of Black is one of of those kind of bands that can help to open the gates for many other bands.
Cool. So, people like me, when we are describing bands, we throw out all these kind of classifications and whatnot. When you describe Lords of Black, what type of metal do you call it? Or is it in your mind, are you guys just a metal band? Do you go with power metal, prog metal? I mean, how do you kind of describe the band?
Definitely we feel like we are carrying the legacy of the bands we grew up with. And Ronnie and I, we are huge fans of Rainbow and Dio and Whitesnake, all those hard rock bands with good vocalists and guitar heroes. But yeah, it's a classic heavy rock meets modern metal in this, at least in the sonic department. We have a little bit of prog because we love bands like Queensryche and Dream Theater and Fates Warning. Those are favorite bands since I was a little kid. And also we have a little twist of classic rock, because we are huge fans of Queen or Thin Lizzy or Uriah Heep, those kind of bands that are not metal, but are heavy rock, heavy classic, stuff like that. So, and we have also almost a little influence of thrash or US metal, like US metal. When I say US metal or power metal coming from United States, is not the same to what we call here in Europe power metal, because power metal for us in Europe is more Halloween or Stratovarius, that kind of bands. Yeah. But when I think on power metal, US power metal, I'm thinking more in bands like Sabotage or early Queensryche or maybe Riot in the Thundersteel, Privilege of Power era. And we kind of have something of that as well. It's one guy actually from this beautiful festival in Atlanta that we played a few years back, Prog Power in Atlanta. They said, "You are Prog Power," and I said, "Well, that's fine to me. That's okay."
That's generally what I say when I talk about this band, because I think you have enough of it's. You're 100% correct. When I listen to Lords of Black, I don't think Halloween, Gamma Ray, Hammerfall. It's not that. Maybe a little closer to what Primal Fear does, maybe. But then I do hear everything you just talked about as well. I hear like the classic stuff, and then that US metal, the Metal Church and Crimson Glory and all that sort of thing.
Oh yeah.
Which I think is what separates you from a lot of other bands. So yeah. Do you have I reviewed the album yesterday, and I always try to pinpoint for viewers watching, go out and listen to a couple of my favorite tracks to see if you like the album. And it's been hard for me to pick out my absolute favorites on this album. I mean, I love Let It Burn, I think is great. And I really like the middle of the album. I think Can We Be Heroes Again and Crown of Thorn is terrific. But then you got For What Is Owed to Us is a great opener. And then you got A World That's Departed is really good. At a Time is a great closer. What are your couple of favorites? Do you have any on the album that really that you felt like a real connection to and you feel really proud of at this point?
I think it's a very solid album from start to finish. I knew that For What Is Owed to Us was going to be the opening track, because the built-in tension of the intro with the acoustic and going into full metal mode, and also Born Out of Time, I knew was going to be the counterpoint to that and a best way to close the album on metal again. Putting in the middle some more obscure kind of songs. And for me, maybe right now it's more special A World That's Departed, because it's kind of a journey. It gets a little bit proggy. It's more than 11 minutes long, but it's such a journey. It was very special to record. Man, you have to be on the studio when Ronnie was recording the vocal tracks. It was goosebumps. It was really special. So maybe that song is one of my favorites right now. Yeah.
He's showing a lot of different sides to his vocal approach, I think, on this album and
Yeah.
specifically that track, which I think are going to really surprise a lot of people.
Absolutely, yeah. Ronnie is one of the best, no doubts. But I always try with him to go places and always try to experiment different flavors and different takes. And he's awesome. And I think he probably is his best vocal performance or recording, in my opinion, to date, because he's signing on songs like "Can We Be Heroes Again?" That is a kind of Queen, kind of Freddie Mercury singing, and he goes really gnarly and aggressive on "Let It Burn," or other songs that obviously I always encourage him to go the Dio way, because we both love Ronnie Dio. Is one of our favorites, and it's pretty much one of the reasons we founded the band, around that kind of missing thing that I think in metal we are kind of missing, that kind of vocalist with such passion, with something to say, a strong vocalist. And is really we still miss Ronnie Dio, more than 10 years since he passed away. Is a hole, is a big hole that he left. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I think guys like Ronnie Romero and like Dino Jalusic, I think, are really trying to keep that torch going here, in the 2020s, right? And it's just
Right.
amazing how many years are just going by. And I think all of us still miss Ronnie James Dio every
Oh
single.
yeah.
Yeah. Do you guys have any plans to play out live at all this year? Like what's your live?
Yeah, hopefully the schedule conflicts is the main issue. We're trying to get a new management and a new agency or booking agency. So it really depends on Ronnie schedules first, because it's much easier for Danny, Johan, and myself. We pretty much live in Madrid and we see each other frequently. We play and rehearse instrumentally a lot, and and we get along really well for anything as a friend. So it depends more if Ronnie has a good window, so we can arrange a proper tour. And I think it's really time to do that, because we miss a lot that connection and that chemistry we have with the audience, because we have a strong fan base, but really dedicated fans that really are with us and really are missing us playing live. So yeah, definitely is my number one priority, but it has to be priority for everyone.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I know, like, especially coming over here is probably not easy for you guys at all. I hear that all the time from a lot of bands I talk to from across the ocean about, they want to come to America, but metal it's the whole metal scene is really weird here, Tony. It's like,
Yeah.
there's a great underground scene, but you got to get people to come out to shows, and you have to play the right venues. And I think the expense for a band like yourselves to come over here,
Oh yeah.
getting the visas and everything else, and then being able to play decent sized clubs and being able to draw a couple of hundred people a night, and finding the right and the country's so big too, right?
Oh
So
yeah.
I'm sure it's a challenge. I mean, that's why a thing like Prague Power is probably a great showcase for a band like Lords of Black.
Absolutely. That's the best way to go for a band like us. Maybe going to Prague Power again and start again, or maybe going with a bigger band, opening like we did in Europe, opening for for Judas Priest, or opening for Ozzy, opening for Halloween. That could be the right way to go for us. If we try to open, United States is a big market, and you have to play every single state. So yeah, we'll see. Hopefully.
Okay, well, keep your fingers crossed for you. So mixing and mastering the albums, Roland Grapow, speaking of Halloween, right? Former guitarist at Halloween, of course, of Masterplan. What's it like working with him?
Wow, it's like the fifth member of the band. Sometimes I say it's one of my best friends in business. Is someone that I really completely trust, and even if I'm producing, but it's kind of his on the sonic department. is his call all the time. I trust him completely, and we are on the same page all the time because I grew up with Halloween as well, and I consider Roland also an influence on me as a guitar player and a songwriter. I love the Halloween era with him. I love what he did with Masterplan. We're still doing really good with Masterplan, and he's a terrific guy, really good guy, down to earth, and very into the music and in doing the best he can for the music, not about the money or politics. It's about the music, about the passion. And Lords of Black is, I would say, is his favorite band. So it's great. Working with Roland is absolutely awesome.
To me, there's some similarities between like Masterplan and Lords of
Right.
Black, right? So you've got Jorn Landy, right? You got Ronnie
Right.
Romero. I think they both come from a similar type place. You've got these two bands that do this kind of classic metal, power metal, prog
Right.
metal kind of mashup. So it's really not, to me, not surprising that you guys have formed such a close friendship and been able to work
Yeah,
together.
yeah. I see that comparisons come across quite often, and I take as a compliment because both Ronnie and I we love Joe Orlandi as a vocalist and Roland Grappo as a guitarist and songwriter, and we come from similar places. That association of our melodic singer and a melodic guitar player, and we have kind of the same influences on the guitar. We both love John Sykes or Michael Schenker or Richie Blackmore or Yngwie Malmsteen. So similarities, of course. Yeah.
Were those some of your big influences? I was going to ask you anyway. Like, what are some of
Uh,
what are some of the players like that back then when you were younger really got you turned on to guitar? And do you have any that you follow nowadays that you really like?
Yeah, from the very beginning, when I was 10 or 11 years old, when I just discovered heavy rock music, because I was into classical music, and as a little kid, I was studying classical music from the early on. Randy Rhoads, I would never forget the very first time I played the song Mr. Crowley, and I couldn't believe what I was hearing. So Randy Rhoads and Eddie Van Halen, of course, and probably Gary Moore. Early Gary Moore was my favorite of all. I was really, really into Victims of the Future and Run for Cover. All those albums is like everything to me. And all the guitarists that were clearly influenced by Gary Moore were my favorite as well, as Vivian Campbell from with Dio was one of my very first guitar heroes, and John Sykes as well, one of my all-time favorite players. So players that play not only with virtuosity, but with ferocity, with honesty, with like playing every note like they meant to. So that's what I go for. Is the character is very important for me, not only the quality of the music, but the intention and the way you play, like the way you talk, like the way you give a hand to someone is and I'm the same kind of person. So
Yeah, I'm sure if you follow the channel, you probably heard the story. But the first band that I ever saw, first concert that I ever went to, was Ozzy Osbourne's Blizzard of Oz and Motorhead.
yeah,
And so I got to see Randy Rhoads playing that polka dot flying V like literally 20 feet from me. And it's like, it's so long ago because it's over 40 years ago. I don't remember a lot of the concert much anymore, but I do remember Randy and being like totally like, amazed at everything he was doing. And, you talk about Gary Moore, he's one of my favorites too. And another guy, along with Ronnie James Dio, that I miss so much, who we've
you're right.
lost. And I still remember when Corridors of Power first came out and how I've heard like one of those songs on the radio for the first time. And I was like, who is this guy? And I went out and bought the album immediately. And Gary Moore was like, you know, there was Blackmore, there was Gary Moore, there was Uli Roth, there was Tony Iommi and Richie Blackmore, and all these guys and Michael Schenker. But there's something about Gary Moore that was really, really special, I think. I mean, those 80s albums
Yeah.
were so good. So good.
I tend to gravitate more and more to Gary Moore. So I guess that was my very first guitar hero, my first love on guitar, I would say, along with Randy Rhoads. Later on, I went more in the technical side because I knew I was going to become a musician myself. So I went into this Yngwie Malmsteen, Tony McAlpine, Paul Gilbert phase.
All the shrapnel guys, right? Yeah, of course.
Oh, every single record. I still have every single Shrapnel record ever released. And I love them to this day. I learn a lot with all of those. Vinnie Moore, Jason Becker. It was a time like every month seems to appear another amazing guitar player. Like, what the hell? So it was very intense and wonder years.
It was a
Me,
really fun, like what, 3 or 4 year period at least, maybe a
oh
little
yeah,
bit longer than that. It seemed, yeah, you're absolutely correct. It's like if you had like a record store you'd go to, you would see all these releases and you'd be like, oh, Jason Becker, Marty Friedman, David Chastain, Joey Tafola, Tony McAlpine, Vinnie Moore. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And these guys that just kept popping out of the woodwork. And I mean, like you, I bought all of them. I bought all of them. I was like, I couldn't get enough of it. And like you thank Ingve for all that, right? Because
oh
he's
yeah. Now that you mentioned Joey Tafoya, he's one of my best friends because when I was living in Southern California, studying there, I became friends with him, and he was my private teacher for many, many months. I used to go to his place and spend hours and hours and hours, and we become friends to this day. He's one of my best friends.
That's great. Yeah, he was in Alcatraz not that long ago, right?
Yep.
A little stint in Alcatraz. Yeah, we haven't heard much from him in recent years, but I'm sure is he still recording? Like, what is he doing these days?
He has running a few other business, doing a lot of money with other business not related to music, but he's playing and terrific wise. He's unbelievable.
Cool, cool. You have any like kind of like newer bands that are out and about these days that you have your eye on that you've been kind of digging at all?
Not really. I mean, there is one band from Sweden, I believe, that is called Avatar. That I find them very interesting, very crazy, and very different, very original, and they play like motherfuckers. So I like those guys a lot. I love, yeah. But no, I tend to go back and back to the classic stuff. My all-time favorite bands will always be Queen and Thin Lizzy, Dio, Ozzy Osbourne, Whitesnake. So yeah.
Yeah, just the reason I asked, I just went to see KK's Priest the other day. So of course KK Downing from Judas Priest, and they had a really cool young band on the bill who are, I mean, they've been around for a couple of years now, but they're from Switzerland, or at least I think that's where most of the band's from, called Burning Witches. And they really impressed me a lot. And again, they play in that kind of like classic style, all female band. So it's a,
Yeah,
yeah, they're very good. There's so many bands coming out now that are just trying to do that kind of traditional metal sound. So it's
right.
yeah, metal is pretty healthy right now, I think. Pretty healthy.
See, it was always underground. We were always the outcasts and the underdogs. So even if we have that prime time during the 80s because of the MTV and especially in US, it doesn't matter if time changes because this is honesty as honest as you can get, so it will survive, I guess, because it's a kind of not only a strong music proposition, but also it's a kind of way of life, if you will, like a kind of brotherhood also. So it's gonna be healthy in some way always. I believe, at least in Europe, has been much healthier than in the United States, because I remember living in the mid 90s in LA, and it was gone. It was dead and gone. Nobody talked about the heavy metal. And at that time, I was still going with a very long hair and going metal with my image, and everybody looked at me like, where the hell did this guy come from?
Yeah.
So yeah.
That was a weird time in the early 90s.
Yeah, I never got any good gig over there with bands because I went to rehearsals places with my guitar that it was a Purple Ibanez or a Gem or something, and they look at me like, no, we play corn kind of music, or you can you can put a trundle and you can get a pawn shop guitar and maybe you get the gig, you play well, but you look nothing like we are looking for. So it was horrible.
Yeah, boy, that's a shame. That's a shame. Yeah, that was the time, unfortunately. So before we let you go, I always like to ask about gear, and I see that 5150 amp right behind you there. So
Oh yeah.
what's some of the gear that you're playing? Guitars, amps, effects? What's kind of in your world right now as far as gear goes?
Well, I've been having that guy for ages. It's an original 92 first series of 5150s. So that's that. I don't use it anymore because I rather go with the Kemper, that I have a profile of that actual amplifier into the Kemper and sounds pretty amazing. So I don't turn on that baby that much. Neither the Bogner, that is a very expensive amplifier, sounds amazing as well. I always go back to the ADI MP1. That's my favorite. That will always be my favorite kind of preamp. If you put that guy into any power amp, it's gonna sound great. I play Ibanez guitars forever. I have a contract with Ibanez, and they've been awesome to me for 20 years or 25 years plus. So I'm an Ibanez guy. And yeah, the Kemper that is over there is a much more convenient, easy thing to turn on and start recording, and is really very reliable, because all those things with valves and all circuits and everything, if they got broken, it's not easy to fix, and maybe you can't even get spare parts anymore. So that's the way. But it's very old school kind of sound. I'm cable into the amplifier, not too many effects, maybe a bit of delay, something, maybe a phaser, not too much wah-wah. So I'm very straight with that.
Nothing wrong with that. And Ibanez, what a reputable
Oh
guitar
yeah.
manufacturer for so many years. I mean,
Oh yeah.
I've had a couple of Ibanez's in my life that I don't have any currently, but yeah, you can always count on Ibanez.
Oh
Really,
yeah.
yeah, cool. Well, any last words for our viewers about the new album? Reasons why they should check this out before we let you go, Tony?
Well, is thank you everyone for taking your time and explore Lords of Black. I'm sure your viewers are gonna love this album, and if they don't know us, go deeper and explore our whole catalog. So I think they will be very surprised, and they will find not only that classic legacy kind of thing that we've been talking about, but also modern, more personal ways from us. So I think is a very strong band with a very strong and melodic vocalist, because what I miss in modern metal is a singer like Ronnie. It's very melodic and very powerful, and that really appeals to me. Same thing with the guitar. I don't mind if you play fast or really aggressive, but you have to be melodic in order that I get it. So I guess the combination of that strong and melodic vocal from Ronnie, and a strong melodic sense from my guitar playing and songwriting makes a good combination in a very classic heavy rock meets modern metal, if you will.
I would agree. And for those who are maybe interested in checking out the catalog of Lords of Black, we did, maybe about a year ago, we did a ranking the album show here on the
That's
channel
right.
where we ranked all five. I ranked all five of the first five albums of Lords of Black. So if you want to know a little bit more about what those albums are all about before you actually go listen to them, go check out that episode. But just yesterday, in case you missed it, I reviewed the brand new one here on the channel. So it's very, very cool. Mechanics of Predacity on Frontiers Records. You can get this basically anywhere, so go check it out. And I want to thank Tony for joining us here today and spending some time with us. It's a pleasure to have you on. Maybe I will do this again when a follow-up album comes out to this, right?
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Pete, for having me. Awesome time talking to you. You just call me anytime, anytime.
I will do that. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And for everybody watching, visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube all together. all the damn time. Please subscribe if you haven't already and click on that notification bell so you get alert of all of our content as it posts. And please do hit the like button before you leave. Check out Lords of Black, Mechanics of Predacity, out now on Frontiers Records. For Tony Hernando, I am Pete Pardo. Thanks for watching, everybody. Goodbye from the two Spaniards. Take care.